Should I still go? All right. This is Jan Ryberg with StrumHum.com with our weekly installment of live lesson, Sunday nights, 5:30. And we're going to do our review of our sitting position, review of our both hand positions. We're going to get into the parkening book on the lesson on the notes on the first string, E, F, and G. And as always, if you have any questions, make sure you text them in, and we'll cover those questions at the end. So let's review our opening exercises. Sitting position for our classical stuff. You get the left leg raised up, put the guitar on the left leg, let the big body of the guitar drop down. That allows the left hand to come into position and the right hand to come into position. So first, right hand, bring your hand over. Make sure your arm is going over the top of the guitar, not wrapping around the side, but over this top ridge. All your fingers on the top string. Make sure your knuckles are parallel, more or less parallel. Make sure your thumb is out to the left of the index finger. A little bit of arch to the wrist. Bring your thumb over to the fourth string, index to the third, middle to the second, ring finger to the first. Remember, we call this highest sounding string our number one string. Now recheck hand position, knuckles more or less parallel, thumb out of the way of the index finger, little arch to the wrist. Our first exercise last week was just playing that. After you're nice and set in position, thumb plays 4, index plays 3, middle plays 2, ring finger plays 1. You put them on again. Thumb plays 5, index 3, middle 2, ring finger 1. Put them on again. Thumb plays 6, 3, 2, and 1. Now with each one of these exercises each week, we're going to expand on those. What we're going to do with this one this week, we're going to go up, come right back down. And we're going to keep cycling around. We call this the circle pattern. Re-strike any of the strings 2 in a row. We don't do this. It's not a bad exercise, but it's a different exercise. We're going to just one pluck per string and then immediately go back to the next string. Then keep your fingers where they are. Move the thumb over to the 5th string. So the fingers are still on the top 3. thumb to the 6th string. And you can start with the fingers planted, which we'll talk more about later, or you can have the fingers just hovering above the strings. Like that. So that's our circle pattern. Left hand, we did 4-note chromatic scale. Fingers were curved on their fingertips, right next to the fret. Not on top of the fret, not in between the 2 frets, but right next. Thumb stays behind the neck, more or less pointing upward. And that thumb can slide with the hand. I don't want you to leave all your fingers down, because if you leave all your fingers down, your hand position is going to look like that. So go ahead and pick the fingers up and get each finger right next to the fret. That's our 4-note chromatic scale. That's what we did last time. Now we're going to shift and shift again. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, shift to the 5th fret, 5, 6, 7, 8, shift again, 9, 10, 11, 12. Keep those fingers curved, right next to the frets, thumb behind the neck. Okay, so those are our 2 new warm-ups. Circle pattern. And chromatic scale with the shift. Okay, so those are our 2 new exercises. We'll probably do a couple more of exercises later on in the lesson. Now we're going to get the parkening book out, and in the parkening book we're going to go to page 28, and on page 28 it's talking about the notes on the 1st string, and those notes are E, 1st string open, F, 1st string 1st fret, and G, 1st string 3rd fret. Before you even try and read any of the notes, you want to get your left hand comfortable with playing these 3 pitches. So you just get index and middle, index on 1st fret, ring finger on 3rd fret, and you just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until you can feel where that 1st fret is. You can feel where that 3rd fret is. You know the sound of that 1st fret, and you know the sound of the 3rd fret. Right hand, just play with your thumb for now. So you want to just jam on those 3 notes for a good 5 minutes until that really, really feels comfortable. Then we're going to add a new technique with the right hand, and this is called alternating rest stroke. So put your thumb on the 6th string to give yourself some orientation. Take your index finger, put it on the 1st string, play that note, play that 1st string, and after you're done playing it, rest on that 2nd string. You can keep lots of flexibility in that last joint. The amount of flexibility is going to vary depending on what kind of tone you want later on, but for now, just keep it relaxed. And I'm using my fingernails. We'll have a whole lesson on fingernails later on. You don't need to use fingernails for these opening lessons. Then take your middle finger, do the same thing, put it on that 1st string, and let the finger drag across that string and rest on the 2nd string. Now go back and forth, index, middle, index, middle. You want to do that for a while until that gets totally automatic. In fact, you can add that to our chromatic scale, where you just sit on each note of the chromatic scale, make up any rhythm you want, two hands really into automatic mode, where no matter what your left hand is doing, index and middle can keep that alternation going on. All right, now add the index and middle to your improvising on the E, F, and G. Sit there on the E, back and forth, rest stroke. Sit there on the F, over and over and over. And up to the G. Make up any rhythm you want. You want to get funky. If you're a guitarist that's been playing for a while, but you're just learning the notes, just learning classical style, have as much fun as you want. Obviously, the more fun you're having, the more improvising you're doing, the longer you're going to practice. Okay, so we want to get this automatic, we want to get this automatic before we even start to look at the notes. So, study number 10, we have 4/4 time. And just to review that, we went over it, but let's review it. The top 4 means 4 beats to the measure. That top number is always the number of beats in a measure. The bottom 4 means quarter note gets 1 beat. And that's just, most of the time we're going to be in the quarter note gets 1 beat world. And we'll talk about what changes when that bottom number changes to something else. But right now, just remember the bottom 4 means we're in the quarter note gets 1 beat world. So 4/4 time, 4 beats to the measure, quarter note gets 1 beat. Then we've got that first note is an E, 8th note. And remember the 8th notes, we say the 8th note gets a half a beat. And we're going to do some rhythmic drills to help us with that. And if you look at the entire lesson, it's all 8th notes until you get to the very last note, where we have a half note, which is hollow with a stem. That means that half note, that means that's a half note, and that half note gets 2 beats. So, let's go ahead and try and play this. Index and middle alternating. Go ahead and do rest stroke for now. And we're going to play it very, very slowly. When we play 8th notes, you want to tap your foot. And let's do a little 8th note drill before we start the lesson. Every time that foot comes down, you play a note. Every time that foot comes up, you play a note. That's what we mean by half a beat. The downbeat and the upbeat. 1. The upbeat, we also call it the and of the beat. So you can say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that. So the 8th notes move. When we're learning 8th notes, they don't have to go that fast. You can slow any note down to as slow as you want to go. So we're going to keep this very slow, about like that. All right? After 4 E's, goes to F, and you get 4 F's. Next measure, you get 4 G's. Back to the F. Then you play 2 E's, 2 F's, 2 G's, 2 F's, and then 1 of each one of those notes. E, F, G, F, and then ends with that half note E. When you're practicing these, if you're a total beginner to playing and reading, you're going to have to practice them so much that they're pretty much memorized. You can't really hope to juggle new technique with the left hand, new technique with the right hand, and rhythm and pitch recognition. So you've got to just practice these so much that they're virtually memorized. If you've played a while or you've had notes on another instrument, you can get the reading part down where you won't have to practice it so much that it's memorized. Okay, let's try this. Study number 10. 3 and 4, play. E, 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 up to 1st fret F. 3rd fret G. 1st fret F. 2 E's, 2 F's, 2 G's, 2 F's, now 1 each. E, F, G, F, E, and 4 and up. So on that half note, you're going to want to let it ring 3 and 4, and then you want to stop the note. You can stop it with either hand. Okay, let's play it again. This time I want you to try and say the name of the note as you're playing. Ready, go. E, 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 F, 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 G, 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 F, 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 E, E, F, F, G, G, F, F, E, F, G, F, E. All right. Now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The number one best thing you can do to help you internalize the music, which is going to make you a much better player, it's going to let you practice more efficiently, and it lets you practice subconsciously even when you're not practicing, and that's singing what you play. So you want to make sure you can vocalize everything that you play, and that will make you 10 times the player. So now we're going to try and match those pitches with our voice, and you don't have to sing in that octave. Remember, we can sing in any octave you want. All right? So now try and make yourself sing those pitches as you play. Ready, go. E, 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 F, 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 G, 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 F, 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 E, E, F, F, G, G, F, F, E, F, G, F, E, and 4 and up. And that's kind of your gauge for when you think you've practiced the song enough. If you can play it at a nice steady speed and vocalize those note names as you're playing, you're done. You move on to the next study. All right. Next study is study number 11. We've got quarter notes. Remember, the quarter note gets 1 beat. We've got half notes. And then at the very end, we've got a whole note. And that whole note is hollow, doesn't have a stem, and that guy gets 4 beats. So we're going to try and read this real slowly. Same 3 notes. Open E, F first fret, G third fret. You just have to keep track of those counts. Here we go, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Open E, another E, another E, first fret F, next measure G, half note, 2 beats, F, half note, 2 beats, quarters. E, G, F, F, E, half note, and E, half note, next measure, same thing. E, 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 F, G, 2 beats, F, 2 beats, E, G, F, F, E, whole note, 2, 3, 4. All right, try and sing it. Ready, a little slower. Ready, go. E, 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 F, G, 2 beats, F, 2 beats, E, G, F, F, E, 2 beats, E, 2 beats, E, 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 F, G, hold it, F, 2 beats, E, G, F, F, E, whole note, 3, 4, off. Now, when you're practicing this at home, you might not get it in just 2 practices. In fact, if you're a beginner, I guarantee you won't. So you just keep repeating that. If you find a spot that's really giving you trouble, stop and just do that spot over and over again. But again, use as a gauge, am I done with this study? If you can sing what you're playing as you're playing, you're done. All right. Study number 12, brand new concept. Now we've got two things going on at the same time. We've got our bass note, which we learned on our first lesson. We've got an A on beat 1, and that's going to be played by the thumb. And then we've got melody played with the fingers. We're going to try and alternate index and middle. So beat 1 is bass, beat 2 is melody, the end of 2, 3, the end of 3, and that last beat, quarter note, that's all melody alternating. So you have quarter note in the bass, then eighth, 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 quarter, then you get to the next measure. Now when we have something that's kind of complex like this, instead of trying to read straight through, we're going to cycle practice. Cycle practice is where we keep repeating the same measure over and over and over and over and over. That way, if you get a little lost, you can just wait for that measure to be over and you can get back in. But we're trying to muscle memorize the left hand, muscle memorize the right hand, ear memorize what the sound of it is, and mentally memorize what the note names are. So we're going to do measure number 1 about 10 times in a row. Again, the thumb is playing the bass, the fingers are alternating on the melody. Here we go. Note number 1 over and over again. Ready, play. A in the bass, E, 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 E. Again. A, E, 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 E. Again. A in the bass, alternate, index and middle on that first string. 2 and 3 and 4. Quarter note on 1, eighth, 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 quarter. Good. Now that pattern, that rhythmic pattern, never changes until the very last measure. So once you've got the rhythm in your head, you've got half the song taken care of. Measure 2, we go to the F. Still have A in the bass. The only thing that changes is we push down first fret F. Measure 3, same thing. A in the bass, we push down G. Next measure, we come back to the F. So that first line, very repetitive in the rhythm, and all we're changing is the melody from open to first fret, third fret, back to first fret. Okay, let's try and play that first line. Ready, and go. A in the bass, E, 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 E. A in the bass again, push down F, first fret. A in the bass, third fret G. A in the bass, first fret F. Second line, the only difference is the bass note. And we just changed, instead of A in the bass, we're going to hit E in the bass. The pattern of the melody notes, identical. So let's play straight through that second line. Ready, go. E, high E in the melody. Next measure, E in the bass, change to F. E in the bass, change to G. E in the bass, back to F. Pretty easy. Third line is exactly the same as the first. Let's go ahead and play it. Ready, A in the bass now. Pattern with the melody is identical to the first line. Ready, go. A in the bass, E, A in the bass, up to F, A in the bass, up to G, A in the bass, back to F. Last line, things change up a little. We go to the E in the bass, 6th string in the bass, E in the melody, second measure, not change. It's still E in the melody. Third measure is our treble measure. We go A in the bass, then we go E, 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 first fret F, third fret G, first fret F, and back to E. Obviously, that's the hard measure. So when we've figured out where the hard measure is, we cycle practice that hard measure. So we're going to play that measure plus one beat of the last measure, and that one beat of the last measure, right after we play it, we're going to make that last measure just a quarter note, and we're going to cycle back to the beginning of that next to the last measure. So let's try that. We're going to slow it way, way down. Ready, cycle practice measures 3 and the first beat of 4. Ready, go. A in the bass, E, 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 F, G, F, E, repeat. A in the bass, E, 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 F, G, F, E, A in the bass, E, 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 F, G, F, E, A in the bass, E, 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 F, G, F, E. Try and sing it. A, E, 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 F, G, F, E. Again. A, E, 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 F, G, F, E. Beautiful. All right. So with enough cycle practicing, you should be able to conquer this piece pretty quickly. You total beginners, you might not be able to play straight through it, but let's go ahead and do it so you can get a feel for the sound and keeping a steady beat. Also, be ready at the end of each line. You really got to be ready to look ahead at the beginning of the next line. All right, here we go. Straight through study 12. 3 and 4, play. A in the bass. E, 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 E. A in the bass. First fret F. A in the bass. Third fret G. A in the bass. First fret F. E in the bass. Second line. E, 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 E. E in the bass. First fret F. E in the bass. Third fret G. E in the bass. First fret F. Next line, A in the bass, open E. A in the bass, first fret F. A in the bass, third fret G. A in the bass, first fret F. Last line, E in the bass. E in the bass. Bass, E, 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 F, G, F, E. All right. Very good. So, the lesson in the parking book this week, study 10, study 11, and study 12. And you want to practice those, especially you beginners, practice them over and over and over until left hand is automatic, right hand is automatic, and you've got them in your head sound-wise and in your mind what the names of those notes are. And again, the quickest way to get that really solid is sing it. All right. Now for our rock riff for the week, we're going to learn the Peter Gunn bass line. And this bass line is fairly easy. There's no complicated rhythm. Like with a lot of our rock riffs, the rhythm is catchy, but not really complicated. This one, the rhythm is totally steady. And again, like all our riffs to begin with, they're all going to be on one string. And this one starts out with 6th string. It's all on the 6th string. Starts out with open 6, open 6, and we push down 2nd fret, then open, 3rd fret, then open, fifth fret, and then fourth fret. Now with most of these rock riffs, I'm going to, especially at the beginning, later on we won't do this, but I'm going to have you do all those frets with one finger sliding up and down, just to give that finger some exercise. So here we go. Open, open, second fret with index finger, back to open, third fret with index finger, back to open, fifth fret with index finger, and fourth fret. Now the whole thing with the middle finger. Open, open, second fret, open, third fret, open, fifth fret, fourth fret. Whole thing with the ring finger. Open, open, 2, open, 3, open, 5, 4. Whole thing with pinky. Open, open, 2, open, 3, open, 5, 4. Now, you've probably got it memorized, and now we can concentrate on making different fingers play the frets. So index finger's job is second fret, middle finger's job is third, ring finger is fourth, pinky is fifth. All right, here we go. Open, open, 2 with index, open, 3 with middle, open, 5 with pinky, 4 with ring. Do it again. Open, open, 2, open, 3, open, 5, 4. A little faster. Open, open, 2, open, 3, open, 5, 4. Open, open, 2, open, 3, open, 5, 4. A little faster. 2, 0, 3, 0, 5. Little faster. 0, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 5. Again, faster. Good. So you want to keep that nice and steady and gradually speed it up. Now, when you're practicing this with different fingers, that's the hard part. 5, 4, using these 2 fingers. So that's what you practice more. You just do this. 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4. Then you might add the open string to that. Open, 5, 4, open, 5, 4. Then you'll start to get bored after you've done that about 10 times. So take that pattern, move it around the neck. Go anywhere. If you get a little bored with that, you can move it to any string. The great thing about practicing the guitar is you can take any problem and make it interesting. So you can take that problem and practice it for hours, and you're getting a lot of benefit for that song, but you're also having fun playing that pattern, so you're going to play it more. If you get a little bored with that, moving that to every string, you can change the rhythm. You can't get bored. If you're bored doing that, it's time to take a break. All right, so again, Peter Gunn would be open, open, 2, open, 3, open, 5, 4. And after just about that much drill on the 5, 4, it should be catching up to the rest of the pattern. So keep playing that nice and steadily. gradually speed it up. Now, with all our riffs, especially our single string riffs, after you learn it on one string, you're going to move it to every string. No changes, same fingers, same frets. Move it to the next string. Next string. Next string. And the first string. So you can immediately play Peter Gunn in 5 different keys. It's only 5 different keys because these are both E's. Fretted instruments are the only instruments that you can do that easily on. If you were playing a horn or even the piano, you couldn't do that so quickly and so automatically. That's the easy thing about the guitar. After you've moved the riff to every string, move it around. Different frets. As you move it to different frets, still sounds good. Doesn't sound like Peter Gunn anymore. So you can take a pattern, move it around, make it a new song. Change the rhythm. And this is how you can come up with your own riffs very easily. Almost every riff you learn, you should take that riff, use it as a springboard for creating a new riff. That's why the guitar is such a great rock and roll instrument. You don't have to know your notes to create really good little patterns that work beautifully in rock and roll. Okay, quick review. Right hand. We did the circle pattern. Thumb plays 4, index 3, middle 2, ring finger 1, back to 2, back to 3, and we start over. This pattern is in hundreds of songs, classical and popular. We move the thumb down to the different bass notes. Then we did the full octave chromatic scale, shifted, shifted again. Then briefly we tried alternating rest stroke with the right hand, adding that to the chromatic scale. And again, any rhythm you want to play, make it interesting. Have fun. If you're bored, it's wrong. Okay. And then, parking book, we did page 28, studies 10, 11, and 12. Again, if you're having trouble with them, make sure that the E, F, and G, you can make up your own song using those 3 notes so you don't have to look at your left hand. It's just an automatic. You know when that finger's pushing down 3, you know when that finger's pushing down 1. Okay? That's always a prerequisite for anything in this book. You've got to get the muscle memory for the basic technique to play those notes before you start trying to read the pitches. So, a lot of practice on that 28, because each lesson we're going to move on to a new string. So get that E, F, and G really into automatic. Then our rock riff. Peter Gunn, open, open, 2, open, 3, open, 5, 4. And it's nice and steady beat. There's no rhythm problems with that. It's it's a totally steady, repetitive rhythm. Okay. Any questions from Cyberland? Nope, no questions today. So remember, if you've got questions, and it doesn't necessarily have to be over what we're covering. If you've got a question about virtually anything, if you've studied other things, especially in classical guitar, that you want to ask during one of these sessions, you sure can. Okay, this is Jan Ryberg with StrumHum.com. We'll see you again next Sunday at 5:30.
Nobody. Your students suck.
I'll
throw them off the air before I say that.
I'll make sure that they